How long has it been since you had this much fun during the regular season calling games for this team?
Well, I guess you'd have to go back to 2015, right? It's the last time they won 50.
Sure.
Got a chance to win 50 here, go beyond that. But even then, there was that year they played the Rockets in the playoffs, and I think people believed that they could beat the Rockets, and then Josh Smith went off in the beginning of that series, and the hope went away pretty quickly. But I think if you're looking for some real action here, I mean, I think this is the best chance they've had since the championship year of 2011.
Okay.
It's a long time, a really long time. But it's really, really fun right now.
It is. And how much better are the Mavs right now compared to the last two playoff teams, assuming Porzingis is healthy and all that and 2 years ago?
Well, I mean, I think they're a little more versatile offensively just because of the guards, that you've got more guards that can make plays. I was one that, frankly, I wanted to see the whole Porzingis thing play out. And I really wanted to see what it looked like when, he was healthy and Luka was healthy and what that would look like. Because I do know in the series in the bubble before he got hurt, they couldn't handle him. Clippers could not handle him. I don't know, but I think the Mavericks are a better team now just because of just having grown up together than they were back then 2 years ago. So I guess I would like to have seen it, but it's pretty hard to argue with the success that this team has had by making the trade that they made.
Coop, first off, I want to thank you because I have to watch a lot of tape at night, so I've got you on these games. So I do appreciate the way you do call.
Hey, man, I already thought the hay was in the barn for you. Come
man,
on now.
no, I've got a lot, guys, and I can't always watch the Mavs on TV, so I got to watch my tape, but I got to listen to you. And you guys, you and Brad are doing a hell of a job on that. But I also want to ask you, when the trade was made for Spencer Dinwiddie and Bertans and this, what were your initial thoughts about it?
Well, my initial thought was I really wanted to see Porzingis here.
Sure.
I am a fan of the big man. I'm a fan and certainly was a fan of how he played when he was playing, and especially, what he meant to the team defensively and his ability to rim protect. But I understand why they did the deal. I mean, I really do. Yes, it's another ball handler, and even more importantly, it's the issue of availability. Even after they made the trade, KP didn't play for 8 more games. So it's like, I mean, how many games might the Mavericks have lost if they hadn't made the trade and Porzingis wasn't available to play for them? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that would be. But it's one of those deals where, I mean, I understood the on-court ramifications of it. I also understood the off-the-court ramifications of it and taking 2 smaller contracts and maybe having those be more tradable commodities than one big one at $30 million. As was the case when Jason Kidd was hired, I was always looking at it as, okay, they did it. Let's wait and see how it works. And the fact of the matter is it's worked out spectacularly for the Mavericks. So it's whatever reservations it might have had, or any Maverick fan might have had, has to have been alleviated by what we've seen.
Coop, we talk on our show quite a bit about the job that Jason Kidd and his staff has done. And you've known Jason Kidd for a long time, and you followed where he was when he was a head coach before. What has been the biggest change, you think, with him as from his previous coaching experience to what we've seen now with the Mavs?
Well, I think, and he will tell you this, it is his ability to relate to players and really have a two-way street worth of communication. He's not afraid to talk to them and tell them what he expects of them and really demands of them. And they're not afraid to talk to him and tell him, hey, I think this is the best way for us to get to where we want to go. You don't see that all that often, I don't think, in the NBA. And especially, when a star player, a top 75 of all time player is the coach, a guy who, he thought the game like a coach when he played. But the fact of the matter is just being a coach on the floor is not like being a coach on the bench. They're two entirely different entities. And I think Jason's learned. And I think, just as is the case so often, and Brian, we do this all the time when when you look at players in the draft and you have them slotted a certain way, and you may not want to accept the fact that they may be able to change and be better than you thought that they would be, or for that matter, worse than they were if you had them more highly rated. I mean, that's the case here with Jason Kidd. I think people were so oftentimes just taken by the very averageness of his time as a head coach in Brooklyn and Milwaukee that they figured, well, goodness, if he was like that, I mean, what are the Mavericks doing? And the fact of the matter is he clearly has learned from his experiences, and certainly learned from his experiences with Frank Vogel and the Lakers the last 2 years, and working, with him and seeing how he does things, and being around LeBron and having to deal with a superstar player, and how do you handle that better? Because when he had Giannis in Milwaukee, Giannis wasn't Giannis, but now he has Luka as Luka, and how do you deal with that? So to me, he's an entirely different coaching entity, but he's still the same incredibly competitive entity that he was as a player, and obviously was a tremendous winning player as a player. So it's turned out to be a fantastic combination.
Chuck, I mean, I was at the game against Utah this weekend, and I was fascinated by, again, with Kidd, but the interaction that he has with the coaching staff. And it seems like to me he's assembled quite a staff that's really helped with this turnaround with the Mavs, especially defensively.
Well, Sean Sweeney's been with him a long time. I mean, Sean Sweeney was with him in Brooklyn, was with him in Milwaukee. He was doing a great job with Dwayne Casey in Detroit when Jason became the head coach here. And, if Jason hadn't become the head coach here, he probably would. Sean would have been helping Dwayne, who we all know from the work that he did here during the championship year, better develop that Detroit team, which is now starting to come on here late in the year. But it's an interesting staff of, lifer coaches, a young former player like Jared Dudley, just literally off the court this past year, and would have played this year had he not had the opportunity to get a front of the bench position, as he's been able to get here with the Mavericks. And then you have people like God Shammgod for ball handling, Pete Patton for shooting, and Krista Tolliver, who's just really is been a tremendous liaison and a person of youth who can connect with these guys. And so it's been a very interesting mix, and I think a very effective mix too. I would agree with you, Brian.
Chuck Cooperstein here with you on 105.3 The Fan. Chuck, there's a lot of talk this afternoon about the possibility of going after Rudy Gobert after Tim McMahon said on a podcast there would be mutual interest there on the low post. Is that the kind of big you'd like to see on the roster?
Sorry about that. We got the dogs are active here.
Okay.
I don't know what they're hearing or seeing.
They want some airtime too.
They want Rudy Gobert is what they want.
We were just Rudy Gobert. They got all excited, right?
Yeah.
I don't blame him. That he's a very, very good big man. Is that the kind of big that you would think, or do you say who cares if he's not an offensive threat? He's so good at what the Mavs need with defense and rebounding that you'd love to acquire a guy like that.
I mean, if you told me that there was a way to get Rudy Gobert here, can you imagine Luka and Rudy Gobert running pick and rolls?
Jeez, yeah.
I mean, I think we could get pretty worked up over that. Yeah. Let alone anything that he does defensively and defending the rim. I mean, I don't know that he's the best switch guy, if you really want to switch a whole lot out there. But, I think we saw when he played against Luka in the game right after the All-Star break that he can handle himself out there. I don't know if you want a steady diet of it, but he certainly was up to the challenge that night to do it. It has to be something worth investigating if indeed he was available.
Kind of sounds like you got a little doubts on it, Chuck, of them trying to pull that off, though. Just listen.
Tell me what the deal is.
Sure.
I don't. You can't just acquire him without probably getting a third team involved. So I don't. I don't know how that all works. I'm not opposed to it at all. I mean, he's a 3-time defensive player of the year. He's the best defensive center in this game. Still is. I mean, he's going to be the first person in the history of basketball to ever average 15, 14, and shoot 70% from the floor. Let alone a top 3 shot blocker. And we all know again about the overall, rim defense. How could I not want that person on my team?
Joined here by Chuck Cooperstein, the Dallas Mavericks play-by-play man, voice that you always hear and enjoy for sure. I know I do. Okay, when we're talking about we're holding this 3rd seed right now is where we're at. Kind of handicap this, what you feel like is going to potentially happen down the stretch.
Well, the Mavericks and Warriors pretty much have similar schedules. I mean, I think according to Tankathon this morning, the Mavericks have the 2nd easiest schedule in the league, and the Warriors have the 3rd easiest schedule in the league. I think it would be better, obviously, to finish 3rd because you're out of the Phoenix side of the bracket, and you'd be playing theoretically if you won a series against a Memphis team that's even less experienced in the playoffs than you are. So there's something to be said for that. But at the same time, I don't. It sounds like Curry's going to be out now for the rest of the regular season. I don't see the Warriors catching the Mavericks. I see the Mavericks finishing 3rd here. I would be. I don't know that they'll run the table. I think the game on Sunday is going to be a really difficult game for them in Milwaukee. But that's the last really hard game they have. The game next Sunday against San Antonio could matter a lot more to San Antonio than it does to the Mavericks. I mean, obviously, this coming week is going to determine that. But at this point, given how the Mavericks are playing, given their schedule, and given the issues that Golden State is having, especially scoring right now, their defense is acceptable, but they're really struggling to score. And given right now that they're 2 games ahead of Utah and Denver, I don't see how the Mavericks at this point don't finish 3rd. I'd be really, really surprised if they don't.
And Chuck, have they improved enough that you would give them a fairly decent chance of making it competitive with Phoenix? Is there any way people would be picking the Mavs to beat Phoenix at that time, or is that too formidable of a challenge at this point?
Well, I don't know. No one will pick anyone to beat Phoenix. Or if anyone does pick anyone to beat Phoenix, they'd be fools, given how Phoenix has played this year. They're leading the league by 9 games, guys.
Yeah.
9 games. This is not like baseball where you have 162 games to get that differential. This is half of that. And they're leading by 9. It's absurd what they're doing. Having said that, the Mavericks, the last 5 times they've played Phoenix, have had a lead of 5 points or more going to the 4th quarter.
Ooh.
In all of those games.
Yeah.
Like that.
And they have lost all of those games because Phoenix has scored at least 30 points in all 5 of those 4th quarters. And the smallest difference in 4th quarter points has been 6 points in the 4th quarter. Now, the Mavericks have been killers in the 4th quarter here of late. They've won 12 of the last 14 clutch games going back to February the 4th, which is right after they lost to Phoenix, about 2 weeks after they lost to Phoenix. So maybe the Mavericks are a good enough clutch team to hang in there with Phoenix. But because that's the only way you're going to be able to beat them is if you can ultimately beat them at that game, which is basically what nobody has been able to do this year. So, look, I think going into the season, we all thought that for this year to be considered successful, they have to get out of the first round. They got to find a way to get out of the first round. Anything that happens after that is gravy. And I do think that still very much applies, if not more so now, because of how they finished this season. But if they do finish 3rd, I think the opportunity for them to get to the conference finals would be very realistic. And I don't want to say expected, but I think there would be a real sense of disappointment if they didn't get there.